Welcome to episode 7 of the Starside Lounge, the DBO podcast. I am Bjorn, and today we are joined again by Xenos.
Hello.
And Claude Herrera.
Hey.
And the ever-elusive NCSU Duncan.
The reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated.
What, like slightly or greatly?
Just greatly.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm mostly dead, but
I'm not dead yet.
There's definitely some exaggeration in there.
Well, it's good to have you back. So we have a fair amount of news coverage again. Bungie's sort of just letting loose with all this, the Taken King info, and every time new information comes out, it just seems to be a bigger and bigger release for Destiny. So I think the big item that happened this last week was the Bungie Twitch stream, where they showed all the Year 2 stuff in the tower. They showed how some of the new mechanics are going to work. But then we also had some map previews, and there's some Game Informer articles. What else do we have here, Xenos?
Let's see. There's also the Red Bull stream this weekend. Not much news there, but
I missed that one.
There's a ton of stuff they've been talking about. I've said it before, but it seems like they're marketing a new game instead of just an expansion.
Well, it is year 2, you know.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting because if you look at the old game model, right, where a new Halo game would come out every 3 years, right? There was no year 2. And so the idea that, year 2 means something and that we're completely sort of turning the tables around this quickly after release, that's pretty impressive.
I wonder if they're going to stick with that sort of naming convention. In 2016, are they going to be talking about year 3 of Destiny? Years from now, are they going to be talking about, all right, this is what you're going to see in year 8 of Destiny?
Yeah, that doesn't seem to have legs, right?
Yeah, probably not. But then again, at that point...
But what's the alternative?
I have no idea.
Well, I think...
Are we ever going to see a Destiny 2?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is if there's a Destiny 2, then they probably will switch away from the year stuff, I would imagine, when Destiny 2 comes out.
Destiny 2, Destiny harder.
Yeah. So let's start with the video, the Twitch stream. That was like a really big chunk of information.
Yes, that is definitely true.
So I know Claude didn't get to see it, but Duncan and Xenos and I did. And so...
What are you talking about? I watched it.
Fast forward. In the last,
you want us
in
to
the last
pretend,
10 minutes.
Yeah.
You want us to pretend that you saw it?
Yes.
Do you want us to feed you lines to say, "Oh, I thought"?
Well, no, I'm curious though, right? Like, I'm curious to get Claude's reaction to some of this stuff because I feel like at face value, some of this stuff is going to be jarring.
Yeah,
and some of it's going to be really cool. So as we go through, I'm make sure you speak up, Claude.
You got it.
I'm not even sure where to start. Let's see, where did they start in the stream?
I believe it started with Vault Space, right? That was right at the beginning.
Oh, that was right at the
Out
beginning.
Of the gate.
They cut it in half. I couldn't believe
we doubled it. All right, let's move on.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, so double the vault space for weapons and equipment. A little more for equipment, I guess. But that'll be nice, given that we're going to be transitioning a lot of gear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty neat to see them double that. I wonder if we'll ever see it increase that much again, because it sounds like it was a lot of trouble just to increase it by what they did now.
Right.
And I'm not even sure if they knew they were going to, or if they were just teasing us, because previously, like in that Luke interview with the 100 questions, when they asked him, he said sort of. Which this is not sort of. This is absolutely they're increasing the vault size. So my question is, did it change between then and now, or were they just messing with us?
It was a pretty breakthrough from what I've heard. Coming from E3, asking about that kind of stuff. The impression there was, hey, that's something we'd like to do, but that's a really tough problem, and they're working on it.
Yeah.
It also seems like...
Yeah, it sounds like it's something that sort of finally came together just in the past, I don't know, a couple of weeks maybe even. So it was really cool to see that.
It could also be a totally Luke response, though, to, are you increasing vault space? I was like, kind of. If you count double.
Only double.
But I wonder if they'll increase it, for year 3 or year 4, or if hey, we think it's big enough now to where you've got enough room. Beyond that, you'll have to start making some hard decisions.
I don't mind that.
If they do what they're talking about now, which is phasing out certain weapons like Gjallarhorn, for example, won't go past its year 1 levels. There won't be as much reason to want to keep those. So the need for, doubling the space each time there's a huge new influx of weapons will decrease.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I would like to hold on to just a couple of them just as a keepsake, really.
Well, I still have my
memories.
Yeah.
And sort of also feeding into that, or you've got this new, not to jump ahead, but like the exotic weapon kiosk, the blueprint
totally
system.
Jumped ahead.
Yeah, and then also to jump ahead to something else is that I can't remember what buzzword they use, but the system where you can upgrade a gun by dismantling
Infusion.
another gun of a higher infusion. Yeah, the infusion system. That's probably gonna encourage people to dismantle stuff more than they maybe would have otherwise.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that's something that they increase on a regular basis, because the vault system, the way it ties into Bungie.net and the mobile app and all of that, I can imagine it's a huge pain and to change that. And you're also, it seems like systems like that tie directly into like the amount of memory you're using when you're loading up the tower.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I wonder how that will manifest in the previous gen versions, because they have to sort of make some sort of trade-offs when they increased the vault space last time with
they had to disable
being able
the previews.
to compare. Yeah. So
Well,
I wonder how that'll look, because Taken King's coming out on last gen as well. So.
Well, and that was one of my thoughts is, when Destiny 2 comes out, or just whatever point they drop last gen, I wouldn't be surprised if at that point they're like, and we double the vault space again. But I think, they're going to reach a limit eventually. And honestly, do they want to keep doing it when most of us will be doing is just hoarding weapons instead of, we're not using any of them? Because I can't imagine there's going to be anybody out there that's, oh yeah, I'm taking out every one of my 100 exotics and using them on a regular basis.
Right. The biggest thing I see for reuse is like raid-specific mechanics.
Right.
So if you need an Oracle Disruptor, or you need to, you have the extra agility for the Crota Sword.
Right.
That sort of thing. But I don't really see the exotics, being an issue, leaving them behind.
And there's even been some people like wondering, Gjallarhorns can get left behind, but is it just a for now thing? Are they going to maybe make a refreshed version of all of the exotics eventually? Which, we don't really
Year
know.
3 Gjallarhorn, yeah.
Right. We don't
I'm
really
sure
know.
They will.
But
it's too popular.
Yeah, it's too popular. Gjallarhorn is like, if there's one gun from Destiny that's kind of, I don't want to say transcended, but like sort of
it's iconic.
Leaked into the more popular gaming just culture. It's stuff like Gjallarhorn. So I'm sure they'll take whatever opportunity they have to sort of bring it back.
Yeah.
But maybe it's good that it is kind of sort of being put on the back burner for a while. Let other stuff shine, so that when it does come back in a completely retooled fashion that isn't completely broken, people won't be as burned by it.
So I think another where they did start actually with the stream is and this is going to be jarring. When you sign in right after the 2.0 update, you're going to look at your gear and your character, and everything's going to be wrong because your level will be correct, but your light is going to be 160 more than it used to be. Or I guess it won't start there, but
160 more.
Yeah, so this is like the crazy thing. They've gone through, and light is no longer representative of a level. Light is a strength indicator as an average of all of your gear. So both equipment and weapons. No, and so if you have a 190 defense helmet and say you have everything. Well, in this example, right, they had Deej was wearing everything that had 190 defense and attack. So if all of it was 190, then his average would be 190, and his light would be 190. But his ghost, which now has light, his ghost was a 170 ghost, and that took the average down to 186.
Oh.
And so he is effectively, just as an aggregate, less powerful than someone who does have a 190 ghost. With that, if that's the only difference between them.
And I think immediately after the stream, that's probably the thing that caused the most ripples, both on DBO and on the internet where I checked.
Yeah, it's confusing because it's so different than what we've had, currently.
And I think the real question that we don't fully understand is they didn't really do a good job of explaining, is this representative of our power level, or is it our power level? So, like the example somebody used is, if I have a bunch of weapons that are 190 and then I equip a weapon that's only 140, does that lower the power of all my other weapons because my light level's lower? And that's what I think a lot of people have been questioning, because they didn't really say whether or not it's just indicative of your power or if it actually affects your power directly.
I felt like it was just a label.
And that's how I felt too. But a ton of people that saw the same stream thought it actually affected your power level.
Well, that'll be interesting to see.
Yep.
Did you have any thoughts on that, Duncan?
Yeah, I wonder if they'll sort of gate certain activities by that light level. Like it'll be interesting to see like how that factors into like the requirements on the director. Like, like in current Destiny, to play this activity, you must be a certain level, right? You had to be, 26 to do the Vault of Glass the first time. So I wonder if going forward, is that still going to be something that's gated by level? Like, if I recall from interviews, it sounds like certain activities might only be available once you hit level 40.
Right, but I feel
are they also going to give, like, you have it a recommended light level of 190 or whatever it's going to be? Because like if your level is just experience, they probably still want to gate things by your actual gear, because I mean that's how it was gated before, even though it was your light level. Like, this activity requires gear that is this good, and it's interesting to see that if they do gate it by that, it's taking your weapons into account now, where that wasn't a factor before. I mean, you could have like the top level raid gear, but you could still take in like super crappy weapons. Right now, I've got two of my characters are level 34, but I haven't used etheric light on any of my legendary weapons. So I've got like my one exotic that's at the maximum power level, but all my legendaries are back at like level 32 levels.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think it would make sense, at least even if it's just a recommendation, not like a hard gating where they say, no, sorry, you can't do this activity. But even if it just popped up a flag that said, recommended light, I feel like that would make sense.
I think it would actually improve things a little bit, just because, like, right now, it's just been, like, the gear doesn't actually do anything for you, the better gear. It's just raised your level. Whereas now, you could have a higher ranking based on your whole gear instead of being like, oh, well, I'm missing the helmet, so I can't join this raid.
Well, it's more than just raised your level, right? It also raises your defense rating.
Well, and that's my point, though, is like a lot of times, a lot of people were literally like 2 or 3 light away from being able to play the activity. And there was no way to do it unless you got that specific piece of gear that you needed. And now there's a way where it's basically like you could improve your other armor with infusion, because I think they said you can do it with armor, right? I think that was part of the point. Mm-hmm. And that way you could still raise your light level and meet the recommended level without having to get that elusive helmet from Vault of Glass, for example.
That's actually been my biggest complaint in the last 2 expansions, is that the gated stuff has all required max light level for all 4 items. Like, you couldn't get there with 3 out of 4.
Right.
And to me, that's sort of... there's nowhere to go, right? You max it out and then you're done, but you can't do stuff until you max it out. So it's sort of... I wish that there were sort of an intermediate step where you could max out some of it and still do the gated stuff, but have a place to go after that. I guess what I'm saying is I wish there were multiple gate levels. If they're going to gate stuff, it shouldn't all be, either on or off. This should be gate level 1 and this should be gate level 2, whatever. Does that make sense?
I think so. And in this way, sort of with the new light system, it's almost like you just have a sliding scale, maybe.
Yeah,
where if you're a couple light short, okay, but maybe you can make up for it with really good gunplay. I don't know.
Good gunplay or good guns?
No, I mean maybe the physical gun isn't as great as it could be, but you're really good with it. Oh. And so you can just make up the difference because you're only a little bit lower rather than an entire level lower. Like that one light doesn't represent a huge jump in potential damage output.
So I haven't actually been able to tell the difference between, let's say you're 33 3/4 versus 34. I haven't been able to see a difference between 33 3/4 and 33. Say
there isn't.
So it's binary, right? You either jump up to the next level or you're at the previous level, even though there's 4 steps to get to that next level.
Yep.
That seems dumb.
Right, and then so the new
scale makes more sense.
Right, and the new light system being an average of all your gear makes that a lot more flexible.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was just me being, sort of not being able to tell because I'm not observant enough, or if that's really how it worked.
Yeah, I sort of I had assumed that that yellow bar meant I was a stronger 33.
Right.
But back in when I started raiding in the Vault of Glass, that quickly became apparent. No, I'm still getting wrecked here.
Well, and that's what I'm hoping is that they got rid of that completely. The whole underlevel, overleveled thing. I mean, obviously the experience level is going to do it because that's what it did before. But I mean, yeah, exactly what you're saying. Just because my light level is a little low, I'm hoping I'm not going to receive extra damage.
Yeah.
And do less damage.
Or if it is, it's only maybe a couple points of damage.
Right. It's not a full level.
Yeah. And then next they showed off the quest stuff, and they only showed Deej's feed for this. There's some really interesting stuff in there. I was particularly curious about the quest lines regarding your class, and the fact that there are quest lines for our existing subclasses.
Yeah.
That I'm looking at the description here, the Path of the Voidwalker, the Tale of the Guardian's Trials with the Nova Bomb. And there's nothing in the game currently that that ties to that, as far as I can tell. I'm wondering if they're adding more stuff into the early leveling system, and they're not really saying anything.
Well, and they showed in the first time they revealed that new quest screen. I think it was in a Bungie Weekly update. You can see that there was the Path of the Gunslinger, I think was what it was on the screen.
Exactly.
And that's my guess too, is it's for those people that are picking up the game new. Not that we're not going to get it, but I think that's their idea, is it's not just going to be a quest for this third subclass you get later. There's going to be a quest line for all 3 of them. So I'm curious, is that going to be something you do it? Are they going to do it at the start, or is everybody going to have to reach close to our level, us that have already played all the expansions, before you can do any of them?
I'm guessing they're going to add a mission earlier in the game that wasn't there before. That'll tie in with this quest line. Pure speculation here.
Right.
But yeah, add a mission back in earlier. People that have already played through the game can go back and do the quest and do this low level mission. But I'm guessing it'll be a mission kind of like the missions for the new subclasses. So have you guys seen or read anything about those? About how these new missions will, you'll get the quest and you'll go to get your new subclass, like the Titan Sunbreaker one.
Yeah.
And in this mission, you're gonna get some sort of buff that recharges your super really quickly and gives you a chance to test it out, really use it and get a feel for it. well, thinking back to Destiny Year 1, there really wasn't anything like that for the previous subclasses. There was no mission that gave you constant Nova Bombs or constant Gunslinger.
Right.
The game says, hey, you unlock supers whenever this bar is flashing, hit both bumpers.
But first you gotta go select it in the menu.
Yeah, you got to unlock it, and then, hey, when it's yellow, use it, and hopefully you figure out how to use it right, because there was really no tutorial for that.
Yeah.
Specific. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went back and just maybe grafted it onto an existing mission or added a new mission in there to sort of finally tutorialize the existing subclasses. I mean, existing players obviously won't need that, but for people jumping into the new game, it'll sort of give them that taste early on, because my impression of the new subclasses is you won't be able to go do the quest lines for those until I think it's like level 25 or something.
Right, yeah, you have to be able to attain you have to be at the Taken King stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's above 25.
No, well, so that sort of leads into the Spark of Light, right, that they're going to hand out to everybody so that you can fast track.
And it brings you to the level of 25, which I don't think anybody saw coming at all.
Yeah, it was a lot lower than I expected.
That's interesting.
I mean, technically, that's not even the recommended level for Vault of Glass.
Right.
Yeah, oh, and I don't know if you can even start the House of Wolves stuff. I mean, I think those all start at 26, right?
House of Wolves starts at 30, actually.
No, not for the hard mode.
Story missions.
Yeah, the story missions, the hard mode story missions start at 30, but the easier ones, I think, start at 26. Because we just ran my brother-in-law through the missions the other day, and he's like level 27, 28.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, apparently Taken King unlocks the Taken King campaign unlocks at level 25.
Well, I mean, we did get hints that they were going to mess around with the story structure anyway. I wonder if the Taken King stuff, the House of Wolves stuff is going to get a lower level requirement.
Well, that could be. Because
they did seem to hint at the fact that, the Reef would unlock after you go and complete those missions for the main storyline. And it would be a little bit strange if you could go to the Reef, but everything was kind of locked down at that point. So maybe they're going to introduce lower levels for everything.
It seems like if that's the case, it seems like a really large scale to get from 25 to 40.
Right.
And then what's going to be available at level 40. And so what are we doing with those? Well, for us, it'll be 6 levels if you're level 34, but those 6 to 10 levels, like what are we doing with those other than getting experience? Or are we going to have to sort of grow before we can do all the missions?
Well, and something really interesting to me was that all the exotics for year 2 they showed, at least the blueprints, required that you be level 40.
Yeah, most of that gear they were showing off.
Yeah, it said, and that's the thing I don't know was that to use them or was that just to print them? Like maybe you had to be level 40 before you could pull out the blueprint, but you could use them before then. But that seems strange if it's that way.
I bet it's gated at level 40. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was how I read that.
Yeah, that's how I did too.
So I have a question, Xenos, and I think you can answer this, and maybe Duncan's got some input too. Currently, we have Vanguard marks and we have Crucible marks, and we can have 200 of each, but you can only earn 100 of them a week. Is that right?
Yeah.
Now we are converting all of these into we're getting rid of those currencies, and we're introducing Vanguard legendary marks, and you can have 200 of them in your bank at any time, and there's no limit on how many you can earn per week. But my Warlock's got 150 Vanguard marks and I think 200 Crucible marks right now. What happens with those? I was a little unclear. What happens to my current currency and how I convert them into legendary marks?
So the way I understood it is that it's going to convert them into consumables, and they called them commendations in the stream, of 50. So basically, if you have 200 Vanguard marks, then you will get 4
commendations.
commendations, whatever you want to call them,
Okay.
that will give you 50 each. And that's the way I understood it. And so if you had
So you
200...
can have as many consumables as you want, but you can only convert them 200 at a time.
50 at a time would be the...
Well, but,
I see what
but you
you're
can't
saying.
have more than 200.
I see what you're saying.
But, but if I have a cumulative 400...
That's close to how I understand it.
Okay.
How did you understand?
What do you have, Duncan?
So my understanding is that you've got however many, you said, 150 Crucible, 200... 150 Vanguard, 200 Crucible.
Right.
So on September 15th, when you log into the game will say, okay, you've got all these marks. So I'll give you 3 Vanguard commendations and 4 Crucible commendations.
Okay, I'm
right?
there.
Those are little tokens, and each one of those is consumable. It'll give you experience points. It won't. I don't think it'll give you legendary marks. The legendary marks is just a completely new currency. So you're gonna start at 0 legendary marks, and you'll have to earn them from there. I don't think your current Crucible or Vanguard marks are gonna feed directly into those.
We can clear up that part pretty quick because they talked about it in the Bungie weekly update. Hold on one sec, I'll pull it up.
Did they? If so, I completely missed that.
It was in the question and answer section at the beginning.
So yeah, that was sort of my understanding. It's like you'll get something out of the Crucible and Vanguard marks you have, but legendary marks you'll have to start from scratch on by doing the activities that would have gotten you Vanguard or Crucible going forward, or by dismantling legendary gear will get you those as well.
Got it.
Oh yeah, I think you're right, Duncan. So from the Bungie weekly update, what will happen to my old Vanguard and Crucible marks from year 1? When the Taken King is released, blocks of 50 Vanguard and Crucible marks will be converted into 1 reputation consumable. Yeah, so I think he's right. I don't think we're going to get any legendary marks.
Yeah, and then didn't they give us commendations before with one of the previous?
They did.
Was it with Dark Below?
It was when it's when they used to require that we had commendations in the Dark Below to
that's right,
to buy weapons.
Right. They couldn't actually redeem them for weapons, but you had to have them in order to spend your marks on weapons. You needed marks plus commendations.
That was a band-aid on their Vanguard rank system, because in launch Destiny, you had to be rank 3 or whatever to buy the best stuff, but there was nothing stopping you from going to like rank 15 or whatever after that, like if you kept grinding. So then when they add new stuff to the vendors there, they couldn't just require it to be rank 4, because that wouldn't have added a new grind for anybody that had already played that stuff. So they had to invent a new currency to sort of say, okay, well, you've got to get 1 more level than whatever your current one is.
Well, and now that I think about it in the way you're talking about it now, that makes sense that they're not going to give us legendary marks, because then we won't be able to jump in on day 1 and just go to town buying.
Yeah, where's the fun in that?
Right. And I do like the new system though, because right now, like Bjorn mentioned, the marks are character based. So like my hunter has 200 of each, and I've had 200 of each for I don't know how long, because I've never spent them. Whereas my other characters don't even have 100 of each. So I like that now it's going to be shared between all your characters. So when I go to my Warlock, I don't have to go and earn marks just to buy the armor, because I've been playing 40 hours that week on my hunter. I can still get them for my Warlock, which is nice.
But you have 200 instead of 1,200.
Right, but you also can keep earning them throughout the week, whereas before you were stuck out. Yeah, locked out.
Well, as long as it doesn't cost 150 to buy a weapon.
125 to convert to make an exotic.
Yep.
Oh, a year 2 exotic.
A year 2, yeah. Year 1s will just cost, I'm not even sure it costs marks. I think it cost Glimmer and an exotic shard. Was that right?
Yeah, something like that.
So we've sort of mentioned it a couple times now, but we need to, I guess, make a correction from the last show, because we had all initially thought that exotics were going forward as is into the Taken King, and that's not the case at all.
I don't think anybody saw this coming.
No, it was like this huge surprise, and I don't know how I feel about it. Claude, what's your read on what they're doing with the exotics right now?
Well, explain what they are doing.
Oh, okay.
Claude doesn't know.
Claude doesn't know. All right. How about Xenos? You go for it.
So basically what they're doing right now is they are going to put 2 new terminals in the Vanguard section of the tower, which will have one will be for armor and one will be for weapons. And you can go there, and any exotic that you have unlocked that you still have in your inventory when you come into the Taken King will be unlocked in these terminals. And so you can basically click on a blueprint of Galahorn from year 1, and for 1 exotic shard and some kind of currency, I don't remember for sure if it was Glimmer, it will give you a new Galahorn. But it'll be unleveled. So it's not
fresh, brand new one.
It's not like a replacement for the vault so that you can take all your exotics out of the vault and scrap them. It's so if you don't really use an exotic right now, you don't necessarily have to hold on to it. You can scrap it and come back later if you want to decide to use it. And then on top of that, a lot of, or at least a few, I should say, of the year 1 exotics will get year 2 versions, which you will have unlocked for you automatically if you'd already earned the year 1 version. And that'll cost 150 marks to take out. And it'll be a somewhat improved version, perk-wise and damage-wise, of the year 1 exotic. So the example they gave was Suros, where you'd get the year 1 Suros. It would be, I think it was 160, or was it 180? I think it was 180 was the damage value it had. And the year 2 version of Suros Regime was 260, and it had a couple different perks. One being if you didn't want the perk that made it so it slowed fire when you aimed down the sights. Instead, it would fire faster the longer you held down the trigger.
So
and you could choose between that.
Is the year 2 version? Is the year 2 version also unleveled?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
When
the
you
year
aim
2
the-
exotics will have the signature perk unlocked, I believe, if I understood that correctly.
Yeah, from the start. That's true for weapons and armor.
Yeah.
Going forward, which I think is smart, because I mean there are a ton of exotics in year 1 that I just never gave a shot, because guns especially, because I just never felt like pouring enough experience points into them to make them fun to use, like No Land Beyond, or stuff like the weird guns like that clearly aren't gonna be the end-all be-all gun for PvP or PvE, but they might still be fun to play around with, but not in their unleveled state. Right. So if they're coming with that cool, unique thing from the start, hey, I'll at least give it a shot, and maybe I'll actually like it.
So I clearly play differently than a lot of people, because when I get a new gun of any sort, if I consider keeping it, in other words, not sharding it when I get it, I'll level it. And that's true with all of them. And with a little bit of, if I do 4 or 5 bounties a day, I can level a gun in 3 days.
And I'm the same way you are with exotics, at least. Not so much with legendaries, but with exotics, I am absolutely the same way.
So with exotics, maybe it's 4 days, but still, it's sort of like it's a no-brainer to me. It's so all these people say, yeah, I've had this exotic for 2 months and it's not leveled yet, and I think, why not?
Well, I mean, you have to think about it though. In a lot of gamers' minds, they want to have fun, and so if it's a choice between I can level up this gun that's not fun to use right now, or I can use my favorite gun in the game so far,
because I only have an hour to play.
But that's the thing, is I only use the guns I like to use when I'm playing, and then I come back to the tower, equip the stuff that I want to rank up, and turn in my bounties.
Right.
I never actually have to use those things until they're fully leveled.
Right.
And I generally do that too. I usually, with the new stuff, I'll just pour bounties into them until they're at least halfway leveled, maybe, and they have some perks and things unlocked, and then I'll use them.
Right.
Right.
But I do like this new system just because it'll be, if you want to use it immediately, like I'm super excited about Sleeper Simulant, and knowing that it's going to have its major signature perk when I first pick it up makes it that much more exciting if I'm going to get it, because I don't have to wait 3 days before it's fun to use.
Yeah.
And I will say that I just I'm in the process of ranking up a third Galahorn, which dropped for me 2 days before he sold it,
Nice.
which I think is kind of funny. But it's the first time in a really long time that I've played with an underleveled gun in PvE, and it's actually kind of fun. So today, I started a mission and I didn't have Wolfpack yet. So Galahorn without Wolfpack is just another rocket launcher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then
I wouldn't even go that
mission.
I
It
wouldn't even
unlocks.
go that far. It's a pretty awful rocket launcher.
No, it's fine with tracking. It's not any worse than another tracking rocket launcher.
It has a pretty good
When
impact.
Wolfpack unlocks, it goes from like middle of the road to wow, this is really impressive. And I got to watch that in a level, which never happens to me.
Right.
So I really enjoyed that.
So yeah, I think the other thing to mention about these blueprints, though, that was cool is that the new Year 2 versions of the weapons are not going to look identical. So the
Right.
Year 2 Suros regime, where it's white now, is going to be black. And whether or not you decide that's cool or not, I know there were a few people on the forums that didn't like that. I like that you're going to know when you look at somebody what version they have. So it's not like, oh, he has Suros regime, and then you're like, oh, dang it, he has the new one. You don't have to worry
Right.
about that. You know immediately.
Well, I'm really glad about that, because that's actually one of the dangers with having multiple versions of a gun out there is you don't know how much damage it's going to do to you until they actually fire it.
Right.
So being able to tell at a glance, I think that's really smart.
It's interesting to see which ones. I'm looking at the screen actually right now. It's interesting to see which ones are actually going to have Year 2 versions. So, and what that means for how many more are left. Because right now there are only Year 2 versions of Suros Regime, The Last Word, and I think...
Truth.
Oh, I was thinking primary, sorry.
Oh.
It must be Hard Light. I'm not sure where he's got that icon there.
Is it Hawkman?
It's not Hawkmoon. Hawkmoon is not going forward.
No, it is.
No, it
Is
definitely
it?
is.
Yeah, well, so he's got...
They're not going to give it to Xbox players and say like, "Hey, you can have the Year 1 version of Hawkmoon finally."
I don't know.
Well, no, I
think
can tell
that's
you,
a possibility.
I can tell you
Good luck with that.
certainty that it does have a Year 2 version, so that nobody out there freaks out.
Is that...
In the teaser that they had for this reveal,
Mhm.
there's a few more weapons on there, and all of the PlayStation exclusive weapons from Year 1 were in that teaser trailer.
Interesting. Okay, so okay. That's curious because they were saying that if you have the Year 1 already unlocked, maybe that's what this is. So sorry, I may be just misunderstanding what his screen is showing. Then, so on the screen you can see all the Year 1 primaries, but only a couple of them are highlighted. I assumed that the highlighted ones were ones that he didn't already have on his character or something, but maybe he hasn't unlocked those. And so that's why he doesn't have Hawkmoon on here, so he won't see that there's a new Hawkmoon going forward. So that would make sense.
Well, they definitely had a truncated version of Deej's character on there.
Oh, yeah.
So.
They definitely set this up sort of special. But, all right, I apologize for any freakouts I might have caused by misunderstanding what I was looking at.
Don't do that. So I'm not seeing I'm looking right now at the screen on the teaser, and the Year 2 primary, I'm not seeing the Hawkmoon, but I'll believe you.
You're looking at the one from the reveal though.
The
right?
reveal teaser, not the reveal.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I'm looking at Year 2 primary, and there's only 5 guns showing, and it looks like Bad Juju.
Oh, the other one
Word.
you were seeing was Red Death, by the way, Bjorn.
Yeah, it was Red Death. I realized that afterward. I figured I should just stop talking at some point, and because I had all of that just completely wrong.
Well, that's why we have Xenos here. I do not see.
That's
Hawkmoon,
why
I'll
you guys
believe you
pay
that
me
it's
the
there.
big bucks, right?
Oh, yeah. All
Your
of them
check's
there.
in the mail, dude.
So should we talk about this sword thing?
This sword thing.
Yes, we should.
This is what happens when you
It's
don't watch the
exciting.
video, Claude.
It's nice to see that Destiny will finally have a sword.
So, just for your information, Claude, they did not even show this in a revelatory way. They did it in a completely teasing way.
Which
Basically,
is awesome.
after they showed that the vault space was doubled, First of all, there was a sword in the vault that I'm not sure that they passed over the sword on purpose because it was only up for literally like 2 frames, the actual description of the sword. But when they got out of the vault, Lars' character had a sword on his back while they were having a dance party in the tower.
They were showing the new emotes in the tower, and Lars had a sword on his back.
That was completely intentional.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That part was completely intentional on it, yeah.
Very nice.
So it's like a whole
it'll
new
be
weapon
interesting.
type.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those play in the Destiny sandbox. You know, melee heavy, and from that description, it looked like you can sort of like defend.
Yeah, block.
Yeah,
and it would work against the elements that it was not. So the one in the video was an arc sword, so it would block
solar and void
well, but it would not block arc well.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how that works.
I understand the reasoning behind that.
Well, it's like a shield, right? So currently a captain's shield, a fallen captain has a arc shield, and it's resistant to solar and void. So if you have a sword and you're putting it up and it has, a light element type, then other things that are trying to, that are attacking it, if they don't have that matching energy type, they're going to do less damage. Since
sword acts as a shield?
Yeah, it has a defensive. You hold like
the left trigger.
Yeah, to block when you have it, and we don't know what that does. Whether it like brings up this wall in front of you, or if it's just for other melee attacks, or what.
Okay.
It sounds really cool though, and honestly, if that works in PvP, which I can't see why it wouldn't, it would bring an entirely new dynamic, which is if you have 3 swords, 3 different elements, and then you notice that the other person is using a weapon that has void damage, you could switch to one of your swords that defends against void better, which we've never had that kind of dynamic in Crucible before.
It's true. Is a sword a special or a primary?
It's a heavy.
So I wonder if I wonder if it has some sort of. I think in that description it had energy or something.
How do we know that it has?
Have heavy ammo to use it?
How do we know that it has heavy?
It was in one of the trailers. Somebody had a sword icon in there.
Oh, in the heavy slot.
In the heavy slot, and it actually had a red 0 next to it too, so it has some kind of ammo associated with it.
Yeah, it says use L2 to guard, effective against solar and void attacks, less effective against arc attacks. And it does have energy defense efficiency, range, impact, and speed are its stats. Which
I thought it was funny that range was in there.
Yeah, well, maybe it's like how far you can lunge with it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, it could just be how long the sword is, which is what I was imagining it would be. It's like, oh yeah, I can't just look at it and see how long it is. I got to go look at the stat.
Maybe there'll be sword flying.
Ooh.
Oh, jeez. Just what this game needs. They fixed Blink and then put in sword flying.
Oh man, what if it does though? Have the sword flying from like the sword from single player?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that'd be awful.
Yeah, I was thinking like Halo. I was thinking Halo 2 sword flying.
I was thinking Halo 2 as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's fun to see this.
Well, if it uses heavy though, that wouldn't be too cheap, if you can't pull it out and sword fly when you don't have heavy ammo, I think that'd be okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, just it's at second 34 if you want to look at the year 2 teaser. It has all of the PlayStation exclusives in year 2.
Now I have to go look.
It was really nice to see, like, they've been talking about a lot of these changes, and there is a lot happening in the UI and just how you're going to interact with Destiny on a normal basis. I'm sure be confused for the first couple of weeks with things, but it was nice for them to walk us through and show the new vendors with the new quests, and just how some of these new systems are going to work. It's just nice to be able to wrap my head around it before we get into the game.
Agreed.
This is what I was looking at.
That Twitch stream was quite great because it's a bunch of little details that none of them would really fit well in like a trailer
or even like screenshots,
a weekly update or screenshots. It's kind of one of those things where it's like you just kind of have to load up the tower and show like, hey, this is how it's going to be different. Here are all the little details that Destiny fans will find important, but people that may not necessarily play Destiny a ton may not find it super interesting.
Well, and that's the thing that's cool about it is it's not a marketing video. It's a video for people that play the game.
Right, yeah. I wouldn't show this to someone who hasn't played it and say, hey, check out this cool game.
Yeah.
Check out these cool vendors.
What am I watching?
As awesome as all Bungie trailers are, I mean, there's definitely a feeling of they're just trying to make it feel as awesome as it can, as they can.
And in some ways it is a marketing because it's, I guess, it's a paid upgrade to do some of this. However, most of what they're showing here, this is going to be the new normal. Yeah. And even if you don't upgrade to the Taken King, you're going to be in this environment and you're going to be playing with these new
I actually think everything in this stream is going to be for everybody because they even call it the Destiny Year 2 stream.
Exactly, not the Taken King stream.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see how the Destiny experience is going forward for people that's just stuck with the launch game. Like never bought any of the DLC, didn't buy the Taken King. Like just how much of a different experience that is.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll finally boot up my PS4 and
I had the same
play
thought.
through that again.
I might just boot it up just to see what is and isn't available.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity.
Seems like a good idea, actually.
I guess moving forward, was there anything else that we missed from the video?
They did show the gunsmith a little bit, but I think if you listened to our podcast last week, there wasn't anything new in there.
No, it was just nice to see what that stuff looked like.
Oh, the Cryptarch is going to sell legendary engrams instead of white and green engrams.
Good.
Yeah, and I think they were
paid attention to what he sells for months.
They were for marks again, which I don't remember how much they were.
Looks like 135 legendary marks each.
Which is kind of cool because like that actually gives that stuff a useful place. It's like if you're not interested in what the different factions are selling, or the quartermasters, you can go to the Cryptarch and spend the same amount of or roughly the same amount of money on just a random roll of the same level. Like I want some new gloves, but I don't really care about the Dead Orbit gloves that I can buy, so I'll just roll the dice here.
And it'll be curious because in the past there's been certain things you can't get from engrams. So it'll be curious to see how much stuff is limited from being in those engrams. Like, are we going to be able to get random Suros weapons from legendary engrams? Or are you going to have to get them from Arms Day?
No. I wonder, to go on a sort of tangent, I wonder how Xur is going to be in year 2. Because, this is a really good opportunity for them to completely change how Xur works. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of in a completely different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe he'll just show up with an exotic quest every now and then, instead of just letting you just buy an exotic and then everyone buys the same exotic. Or maybe I could also see like Xur having like a much smaller pool of like Xur exotics.
That you can't get any
Xur exotics?
Yeah, that you might not necessarily get any other way.
Is there going to be a helmet that gives me tentacle face?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, jeez. That'd be awesome. I'd wear it.
There are 2 things we didn't cover. One was factions, and the other one was the new kiosks.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Right. I feel like we talked about them a little bit in the last podcast, but yeah, we definitely saw those in action.
So it looks like you're just going to have to pledge for, I think it was like 7,500 Glimmer, and you have that faction. And the thing we learned that I was excited about is it's not going to take away from the experience you earn towards other factions, which is the way it works now. So if you do Crucible, you will get both faction rep for FWC, or if you're me, and for Crucible reputation at the same time.
Oh, nice.
Correct. Yes, but you can't get FWC, Future War Cult, and New Monarchy, for example. It's basically you can get one faction and also Crucible or Vanguard.
Right.
Yeah.
But
you can only change once a week.
Seems reasonable.
It's why I never rep any factions right now, because I like keeping my Vanguard and my Crucible going forward, and I could sort of work on both in tandem.
Yes.
So now,
Yeah,
that's
if
totally
you're
viable.
wearing if you're wearing a faction item, then you only get one instead of two.
And the other cool part about that they mentioned is like shaders have been something that people have been chasing after for each of the factions. And they said that's going to be a lot more likely to drop. And then on top of that, once you earn that shader, it drops out of the pool of possibilities to get, because now we're going to have these kiosks where you can go and get any of the shaders that you've unlocked.
Yeah, I've started hoarding shaders and emblems. Like
Really?
That's what's on my character. On all my characters right now, and yeah, I've filled up my inventory.
That's funny.
So that when September 15th rolls around, I'll just delete all the ones I'm not using, but that way I at least have access if I decide I want to try one out again.
Right.
So will we ever get access to stuff that we got on day one that we accidentally sharded but aren't showing up at Tess Everest, like the bunny one?
Oh, that wasn't a day one. That was from the chest.
Yeah, that's what he means. He just means like stuff from the very beginning.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah,
you can actually get that randomly. It is possible. So it might not do that.
I've never seen it again. I sharded it a long time ago thinking it was at Tess Everest, and then it didn't show up there, and I'm like, oh, it's gone now forever.
I thought Eva Lavante had sold it.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
The Jade Rabbit one, yeah. But I know what you're talking about. There are a handful of these that I don't like. The starting Warlock one, I like how that looks. I don't usually equip it, but I don't want to get rid of it. So it's been sitting in my inventory for a year now. So it'll be nice to.
If you don't use it, why don't you shard it?
Because sometimes I'll put it on, just for fun, because it's old school.
I think I sharded mine.
I think it's pretty cool that they'll show you the ones that you haven't unlocked, and it's almost like a checklist, like giving you hey, here's how you can get this one.
Yeah.
Oh, there was somebody in the forum who said that was going to be a problem for his OCD.
Yeah, exactly. I was just
problem
about to say,
me.
for completionists, it's going to be make Destiny even more addicting. Same with exotic weapons. Before, if there was an exotic that I didn't have, it's kind of nice to add it to my vault and feel like my character's closer to maximizing its year one potential. But to see that little grayed out yellow box on the blueprint screen, that's gonna make me actually shell out the coins the next time Zer's selling some crappy gun that I don't actually want to use, but I don't already have.
See, it's gonna drive me nuts because I haven't been able to get a Crux to drop for me. So if I can't get it to drop, it's gonna drive me nuts that one's gonna be grayed out.
I'm just gonna share this. I played Crota on PlayStation last week, and the Crux dropped. I don't even have. I don't have any of the stuff over there.
You don't have a husk.
I don't even have the husk of the pit. So now I got to go farm the stupid husk of the pit.
Oh my goodness! I sharded about a dozen husks.
I have never ever seen the Crux drop on any Crota hard mode run. I've done quite a few of them, and I'd never seen it drop for anybody in the party.
Since I've been actually trying to get it, I've seen it drop 6 times. Just not for me.
But never for you.
Right. I can't believe they made it more rare than the Mythoclast. Of all the improvements they did on the loot system in the Dark Below, they were and let's make the exotic even more rare.
Yeah.
But then I watched that 6 guys with necrochasms running Crota and thinking, this is a stupid gun, because even with 6 of them, it hardly
it's terrible.
It's not like they had a breeze of it. It's terrible. So why go to so much effort to get it?
Well, if the raid wasn't fun, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
I wonder who's going to be the first player in year 2 to have all of the emblems, all of the shaders, and all of the exotics.
It would be just like Bungie, though, to make one of them for Bungie employees only.
Well,
and there is forever be grayed
and
out.
Still show up show up in your
I was
in your list.
There is stuff kind of like that, but I'm sure it won't show up on that completionist screen.
It'll just say recon.
There's one you can only get if you were a mythic member or whatever, right? The emblems and stuff.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Stuff like that. Or if you did that.
Or the one that you get if you win a Bungie bounty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that one's in there.
I don't know. I think if good design would tell me that they wouldn't actually do that. It's just
no, there are a handful
like in the Reach armory and stuff, like it wouldn't, like there were certain pre-order stuff, it wouldn't actually show it if you couldn't get it.
Like the blue flames.
Yeah, like for completionists and stuff. Yeah. So hopefully it won't be like that. I wonder how the ship kiosk will be patterned. I mean, I guess it'll be kind of like the emblem and shader one, right?
Right.
Ships and sparrows and such.
Is there a whole other kiosk
we're
for
not
that?
going to go to what's her name anymore?
I believe so. Well,
Okay.
I
Sure
assume
they
that
mentioned it.
I was really wanting them in that stream to go over into the hangar area,
And they,
but
yeah,
pretty sure
didn't.
there's going to be like a kiosk for the ships you've collected.
One thing I was sort of
Completionist.
yeah. The Bungie the weekly update patch notes, or not? It's just the weekly. No, it was patch notes from the one they just pushed. Sorry, I'll start over. They said in the most recent patch notes that that Tess Everest is temporarily leaving the tower,
Right.
and then she got replaced by this little computer console over by Eva.
Right.
Is she coming back? I liked her character. She sort of had this like James Bond thing going on. I
only hear her when I'm running over to Eris. Like she's saying something as I run past.
Yeah, I'll be really curious to see why they did that.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, she's been standing in that kiosk for almost a year now. Like, eventually, I hope there's a bathroom in there. But
She went on vacation.
sabbatical.
Yeah.
If you look down, there's actually a little puddle coming out the bottom.
Oh. But yeah, so I was sort of curious what's going to happen with her, because we're changing the ghost voice actor. I guess other characters aren't completely out of the realm of being replaced, but they specifically said temporarily leaving the tower. So I'm curious what she's going to come back as.
And maybe she'll even be in the story. That actress, I think her name's Claudia Black, is a pretty big...
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's a pretty big video game actress.
Right.
Yeah. Not only
So-
that, she was in
Farscape.
Torchlight and Farscape.
Yeah.
She's in a few things.
So yeah, it'd be nice to see the character expand. I'd love to see the world of Destiny just get bigger and have more story and more character. So if that's why she's gone now, is because she's going to come back later, that's awesome. And right now we're going to splice in, because last time on the podcast we promised a giveaway and we said that we would reveal the winner on the next podcast. Well, that's now. So if you had replied to the forum thread, didn't matter what you said, really. If you replied on the forum thread, I put your name in a list. I've got an Excel spreadsheet here, and I have a high entropy random number generator sitting on my computer. And when I hit return here, it's going to give me a number, and I will read the name that's attached to it.
Better not be 7.
And I'll even post the screenshot. It could be 7.
If it's 7, it's been rigged.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wait, who's 7 on the list?
Disciple in 2K is 7 right now, so we'll see what happens. All right, here we go. Drum roll, please. 11, which is Scarab on the forum. So congratulations, you won
Scarab, who hasn't played Destiny since January.
Maybe this will get him back into it.
There you go.
I don't know. Should we check what he posted before we decide to give it to him?
We could. Maybe he says, "Don't give it to me." In which case, I'd have to re-record this whole thing. Just be a big ordeal.
We've come too
In
far.
which case.
Yeah. But congratulations on winning the poster book and the art book. Is that right? Or the journal? I think that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. Levi's not here to confirm. But
Levi's not here to confirm, but we will put Levi in touch with you, Scarab, and get that taken care of. And then, sort of coming out of the Twitch feed, Game Informer had some nice coverage. We saw they've had some sort of fluff articles in here. Taking King fixes Destiny's 3 biggest problems. Like, okay, yeah, this is all stuff we've heard before. But we did get an unprecedented look at Destiny: The Taken King's Vertigo map, which was kind of nice, actually. They flew around the map, but we don't usually get this sort of nice in-depth review of a multiplayer map before we get to play it.
And it's also another symmetrical map, which Destiny's definitely lacking in right now.
Right.
Which is nice.
But it's a symmetrical map on 3 axes, is that right? Or is it 2?
I think it's just 2.
Okay. Because once you get inside, it's like this triangle space, and it's sort of weird. But it does have the 3 lanes, and lots of jumping hazards. So
oh, yeah. And you will fall all the way to Mercury.
You have to wait the whole time. That'd be awful.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of neat with the sort of one-way teleporter on the map.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was afraid it was a 2-way teleporter, and I thought this thing's going to be, like, I sense all sorts of problems. And then they said it's a one-way teleporter, and I thought, whoa, I didn't see that coming.
And on top of that, where it spits you out, the jump is apparently hard to make from the teleporter. So
really?
Yeah, they were saying that it is a possible jump, but it's not an easy jump.
So once you go there, it's sort of
so
like...
if you accidentally fall through it.
Yeah, you're toast. I guess some classes will do better than others with that.
Yeah, don't go into it as a hunter.
Unless you have like your 4 jumps or whatever.
Oh, well.
But that was pretty cool. I wish Game Informer would put that walkthrough up on YouTube so I could actually watch it.
Yeah. They gotta fix this Flash video player thing, but
yeah, I got halfway through though. It was neat getting the commentary because both of those guys, Andrew and Adam, were at E3, and they're really cool guys. So it was really neat to hear them talking about this map and being really excited about it.
Yeah, it was interesting that it came. They were talking about developing it after some other maps, and it's a nice insight into the entire design process, because we're going to get all these maps all at once, but these have been in production for a while, I imagine. So it's nice to hear the things they think about, and the original design. Like, I had this set up, and then he thought, then Adam came over and suggested we add this other item, and like it changed the whole dynamic. I think that's really cool, because there's a lot of work that goes into these.
So we also got to see quick glimpses at the other 7 new Crucible maps, 6 if you are on Xbox.
Oh yeah, super short little video clips.
And I got to say the variety is really cool, both in setting and in map style.
Yeah, I feel like the Crucible area is gonna feel like it doubled in size, just with the number of maps.
Some playlists feel like you get the same 3 maps over and over again.
Yeah.
So having an enormous variety, because they're not all, big ones don't go into small playlists.
Well, the funny thing is, I saw Ghost Ship, which I think is one of the coolest looking new maps, which is on a fallen derelict ship in the reef. And the purple aesthetic, all I could think of the entire time was, is it Boarding Action? Is that the one I'm thinking of? No.
Midship?
Oh. Midship, thank you. I'm thinking of Midship.
Yeah. Curvy and purple?
Yep, curvy and purple.
Yep. Good maps.
What's it called?
Ghost Ship.
That's the one with the guy, he had like the crazy long-range shotgun hit, right?
Yeah, the...
that bothered me when I saw it.
The Tex Machina? How do you say
Machina?
that? Machina? I don't think it's Machina. Oh, it's Mechanica.
Oh, is it?
It's Tex Mechanica shotgun.
So that's the last word, people.
Yeah.
All right, I'm okay with that then.
So it is an exotic.
Those people know how to make some fine firearms. And then was there a lot of other coverage, or have we sort of covered it all? I'm having a hard time remembering.
I think the other biggest one of note to me was the video about Sleeper Simulant, because I don't think we talked about that last time.
No, we didn't.
Which is a heavy fusion rifle. And I guess we talked about it from the article, but they actually showed it in action.
Right.
So there is a little short video that you can actually see the gun and hear the concept behind the design.
Right, but it was like fully unleveled.
Right.
Or something. And yeah, it didn't strike me as overly powerful, but...
Well, and somebody actually, though, did the math on Reddit and compared the amount of damage it was doing to, I think it was a 28 in the video, red enemy, and then they went and found the same type of red enemy in Destiny with a Gjallarhorn and shot it, and the Sleeper Simulant did more damage than Gjallarhorn.
So they're also, though, redoing all the numbering, right? Like, all the math is getting refactored.
I don't think the damage numbers are. I could be wrong, but
Okay.
I don't think I heard him saying anything about the damage numbers, just our attack values and our defense values.
Okay. I sort of figured that, like, all numbers are suspect until we get into the Taken King.
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable assumption, actually.
Yeah, Taken King changes everything to base 8.
better get learning.
I like that idea. Makes it a little harder.
We didn't change anything. We just made it look like a higher number.
We made you do math before you could figure out what was better.
There are also no 9s.
But year 1 weapons are base 10 still.
Right. Oh, jeez.
Did they was one of the quests to teach you base 8 when you get to the Taken King?
All of a sudden, like, what was the old, like,
Why would
math
it be base 7?
program? It should be base 7, you're right.
But I don't know base 7.
Get, like, Math Blaster, pop up on console.
That's right.
I think the only other article I can...
I was just made a deal with Scholastic.
I was just looking through the articles, and there is one other one I would recommend that you read if you haven't, and that's what's the title of it? It's their hands-on impression with the Taken King.
Oh yeah, it's just called Hands-on Impressions.
Yeah, and that was a really good article just because it is people that were kind of down on Destiny and their take on the Taken King and how it's an improvement over the vanilla Destiny. And I know we have people even at DBO that aren't happy with what year 1 was with Destiny. So if you're at all, doubtful about the Taken King, I'd recommend reading it.
I would grab a link off our front page, but it doesn't seem to be there.
It should be.
Maybe we got to fix the search.
That's it. Oh, I didn't think to look in search. Oh, look, there it is. Hands-on impressions. Good
You
Lord.
doubted me.
I would never. Xenos, come on.
All right.
I realized it was a week and a half ago. I just didn't go back far enough.
Well, we've got... there was the one other thing. I didn't get to see it, but they had the Red Bull Rift game type Twitch stream down in Los Angeles, and I just I was out running around doing stuff, and I completely missed it. But did you get to see it, Xenos?
I did. I watched the whole thing. I think I didn't watch it live because I was at work, but I watched it afterwards. And it's mostly Rift gameplay. Basically, they had a best of 7 Rift competition between Team Flamesword and Team Triple Wreck.
Oh, jeez.
Ooh,
And
how did that go?
It was very interesting. Triple Wreck ended up losing the first match and then winning the next 4. So it ended pretty quickly, almost as quickly as it could. But it did show off how fun that game mode's going to be. I think we've all been missing games like Capture the Flag in Destiny.
Absolutely.
And this is definitely going to fill that itch. I like, though, that it's keeping a lot of the stuff that makes Destiny great. Like, there's no rounds. So after the spark runner dies, which he can only hold the spark for a set amount of time before he explodes. But if he dies, then the spark will take, I think it's 30 seconds to recharge. And so everybody kind of vies for control of the middle again. So it's kind of like Neutral Flag in Halo without ever resetting.
That's awesome.
And then, yeah, it looks awesome. They actually get points the closer they get to getting a I can't remember what they call it, but basically a capture.
The slam dunk.
Yeah. So even if you only make it half of the way to the capture point, you're still earning points for your team. And they did that often. In fact, you even get points for just picking it up. So they were saying if everybody's surrounding you on the other team and you're the only one there, you can just pick it up to deny the other team and get a few points for your team.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of strategy involved that's really interesting that we haven't seen in Destiny before, and that's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to the the objective game types. I am lamenting the loss of vehicles and vehicle maps in Crucible. I really miss that. I had so much fun on First Light, the moon map from the beta.
And I actually really enjoyed Bastion too. Bastion was a great map.
Yeah, I never got to play like a lot of it, but yeah, I also enjoyed it. And then they just seem to have cut that out entirely.
I get the feeling that they realized that a lot of people found combined arms lacking in the same way that we found like Iron Banner and a bunch of other stuff at launch lacking. And I think that they're probably, if they're going to bring it back, they're going to take the time to make sure it's great.
I hope so. But, you know, that's going to require specialized maps, and that right there is a huge amount of work.
But hey, year 3.
Exactly. Look to the future.
Yeah, new vehicles in year 3, please. I was very underwhelmed by the vehicles in year 1.
Well, it's kind of sad too, because you get your Sparrow for the first time and it's so much fun. And it actually made me like excited to see what other vehicles we were going to get. And then it was like, oh, well, you only really see vehicles twice in the campaign, and then you don't really see them ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, the Sparrow is one of my favorite vehicles in, you know, like any video game, just because of the way it feels. But the Pike and the Interceptor, I feel like, are not very high on the list of my favorites.
That doesn't exactly compete with the Warthog.
Yeah, the Warthog, the Chopper, those are good vehicles.
Yeah, well.
So yeah, I'm not personally saddened by the loss of combined arms. As much as I always loved, you know, Bungie vehicle, you know, like big team battle style gameplay. I'm not a big fan of it in Destiny so far.
Yeah, and then, you know, they're sort of, even with the new destination in the Taken King, we're not even going to be able to ride our Sparrows around in there.
Yeah.
I just sort of thought of that. So yeah, vehicles are just sort of becoming less and less important, and I wonder if that's because they're going back to the drawing board on it, or if
they're just cutting them.
Yeah.
And as much as I enjoyed my Sparrow, I will admit, it did make you miss a lot of stuff in Destiny. Like you would miss other players doing things that you might not have missed if you'd walked through an area, for example. And I don't know if that's why they're not having it in the Dreadnought or not, but it is interesting that is a little bit of a problem. I wonder if that affected their decision at all.
Could be. I feel like I would have not minded, like, if the Sparrow went away, but I was able to, when I go to launch a patrol mission, for instance, I could choose, you know, one of several drop points, because they have those on the map. They have those little areas. They have the Guardian flags. Like, we have these drop points set up.
Well, and you use them for the strikes,
right?
So
exactly.
they're even
in various missions.
Yeah.
But if we could somehow choose which one to go to, I feel like that would be even nice. And I wonder if they're going to do that for Dreadnought stuff, because if it is really a large space and you have everybody moving from one point, you know, out into the environment, if there's only one point of ingress, it's going to be kind of weird. But no comments.
No comments. I think we agree.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that pretty much covers the material that we've seen so far. We've got another Twitch stream happening on Wednesday. They're going to show us Strike, and then we have PAX. That's what it is. We have PAX coming up this weekend. I completely forgot. So we're going to have a bunch of DBOers, you know, in the Seattle area. I'm looking forward to hanging out, and I'll try to say hi to as many people as possible. I don't know if we have like an organized way of getting together with people. I've never actually been to PAX before. This will be my first run. So
yeah, I should probably figure that out.
Yes.
You have only, you know, you got a couple days.
Have you had any response to your request for survey submissions?
Yep. I've got a list of people and contact information for them. So if you haven't already, and you're listening to this, you can find, I started a thread, and there's a quick little survey you can do that will basically just let me know how to get in touch with you during PAX if I actually get my act together and get a meetup planned at the last minute.
And if not, it's just it's a small email
And
list.
if not,
I'll
just sign you up
spammer.
for a bunch of spam. Yeah.
I knew you'd do that. So I gave you Claude's email address for mine.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, very nice.
Too.
Don't worry, it'll only be spam targeted towards you, because that makes it better, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just selling all of that information to Google.
Oh my goodness. Not really, people. He's not serious. I just have to make that disclaimer. Right, Duncan?
Right,
Yeah,
right,
okay.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to yet another episode of the Starside Lounge. And we are going to probably have a couple-week break, and then we're going to hit the ground really hard. We're going to be running when Taking King lands. We've got some ideas for maybe doing like a live Twitch stream, doing some content there. We'll get back to you on that, but I think it'll be nice.
And if for some reason you don't want to see that, please let us know, because
Yeah.
if you're not going to watch it, we're not going to do it.
I have a feeling people are gonna like that. So, yeah. Well, thank you once again, Xenos, as always, for co-hosting.
No problem.
It's always good to have you. And Claude, are you now more informed?
For coming in with zero information.
But you
I
have
am more informed. Yes,
you are
I feel
leaving.
like I know what's coming in year 2.
Exactly. You're ready to go. And Duncan, we finally were able to harpoon you, pull you into the podcast.
Yes, I'm sort of picturing like the opening scene of Halo 1 where I'm like coming out of cryo sleep and I like unseal the hushed casket.
Very nice.
But yeah, thank you so much
Question is, are you going back in after this?
It's pretty late here on the East Coast. So.
It is. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining this week, and we will see those of you who are coming to PAX. We'll see you in a couple days, and we will be back in a couple weeks with another episode of the Starside Lounge. We'll see you Starside. Welcome to the DBO Starside Lounge, episode 7. I'm gonna start over. my brain just was like, nah.
See, if this was live, you couldn't do that.
Right.
That's right.
Actually, that's the first start over I've done.
It's not the first time you should have done one, though.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
Wow.
all right. Here we go.